My friends, the great experiment.
Discovery. Hidden. Trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Adam Pranica.
I'm Ben Harrison.
God, what a week this has been.
Oh.
It's one of those weeks where the show is truly the most chill part of the week. Like, everything that is not actually doing the show is just on fire. It's like that scene in, what's the Hannibal movie where Philip Seymour Hoffman is put in a wheelchair, lit on fire, and then he's rolled down a hill? That's what my mentals are like this week. Like, even my wife is like, dude, what is going on? I don't seem well to the people around me. People are starting to notice.
I said to my wife yesterday, I'm kind of worried about Adam's mentals.
Yeah. Feeling it. I talked to our good buddy Adam Ragusa this week, and he was so good at nursing my mentals.
That's good.
I was like, listen to you, man. You seem really chill. And he's like, yeah, I'm great in a crisis. I'm not good when things are good. And I was like, on my end, I was like, well, you're exactly who I need to talk to right now.
I mean, like, a lot of it has just been, like, behind the pod is that this is the week that the streaming Cyboctacular is coming out, so lots to do surrounding that. But also next week is the beginning of Star Trek Enterprise, so lots to do surrounding that. And then on top of those sort of like big, amazing things, there are also chainsaw-wielding maniacs running around outside your studio.
Yeah. Yeah. There is the issue of the chainsaws and their surprise appearances around my home.
Yeah.
It's weird to like look out a window and see a guy hanging out of a tree over your property, carrying a chainsaw, like rappelling into your area.
Some people come in through the front, but the chainsaw guys, they rappel in.
Like the beginning of some low-budget action movie where my home is seized by an attacking force. That's what this week has felt like. And I never know when the chainsaws are going to happen. That's part of it.
They could happen during this recording.
My problems are mainly chainsaw-related. Everything else is manageable.
Yeah.
I can't manage the chainsaw situation because it's not my thing to manage.
This and another thing were on our schedule to be recorded yesterday, and we just had to scrub the entire mission because, like, we were like supposed to be wheels up on our records at 2 p.m. and it seemed like 1:59. Somebody started like yanking on that cord that gets the chainsaw started.
Branches started falling into my yard at 2:01. Incredible.
Just phenomenal timing. Yeah. I had a real hell of a weekend, too, because, you know, it was Mother's Day on Sunday, so tons of activities surrounding that, and even more than normal. I was really trying to give wifey a break. And then on Saturday, the day before that, I got up early on Saturday to go to an orthodontist appointment because I have to get a post put in.
Is a post what you put a veneer on?
I'm missing a tooth in the back of my mouth, and it didn't fall out. I never had wisdom teeth, but I'm also short on molar, and the opposing molar is going to fall out because it doesn't have anything to hit against, and so it's like noticeably lower than all of the other teeth on the row. So they need to put a post in so that eventually they can like put a fake tooth there. And I went into the orthodontist office. They start jamming me with that crazy needle that's like, you know, like the stainless steel hypodermic needle with the loop. You know, the thumb goes through a loop, you know?
We've made so many advances in orthodontic technology, and yet that one remains as like a relic of 50 years ago. Yeah. Those metal loops, the giant needle, and that you have to just keep going deeper.
Right. Yeah.
With that thing.
This is going to pinch. This is going to pinch even more. It's like, I thought you were already putting anesthetic in. The more they do it, the more it hurts. They're like, okay, well, we're going to give you a couple of minutes to numb up, and they leave the room, and then they come back and they're like, hey, sorry, our autoclave is on the fritz. So none of the instruments that we need for today's procedure are sanitary. So we're going to have to reschedule.
No. Oh, no. So they numbed you up for nothing.
Yeah. So I just like got back in the car and drove back home.
Why is this happening to me?
Oh, that's awful.
Oh, man.
The worst part is like gearing yourself up for the thing. There's not an insignificant amount of like mental stuff to do to like gird yourself for that. And now you got to do it all over again.
I was like completely 50-50 on whether I was annoyed or relieved in that way. Cause I was also like conscious of the fact that we had kind of a monster of a work week coming up this week with all of this stuff. And I was like, am I going to be like in a lot of pain trying to like yell at Adam about Star Trek into a microphone?
Always are.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, it's been a little bit of a week for the two of us, but I'm very happy to be finally sitting down to record some pod.
This is the best part of the week, man. It seems as though that point between numb and not numb could be considered a sort of Lagrange point, wouldn't you say? the perfect middle. Is that a pivot?
That is a flawless.
Here's me. Hold on, I got to do the meme. Like, is this a pivot?
Oh, man. It's amazing that those automatic reactions that your webcam does include making a butterfly float in front of your face when you hold your hand like that.
They really thought of everything. Let's see if we can think of everything, Ben, when we discuss Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 9. It's 9. It's called Lagrange Point.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
Black alert. Black alert.
It's pronounced Lagrange, right? Isn't it a different pronunciation?
I've always heard Lagrange point.
I always thought it was Lagrange too.
Yeah, I think
All
Lagrange is an accepted pronunciation.
All right.
Yeah, we start at HQ, beehive of activity, but it slows down for someone. That someone, Ambassador Saru. He's got a whole new look. He's draped in soft fabric.
Don't tell me. Velvet? It's the real deal.
Doesn't it feel like, from the very first moment, Jonathan Frakes establishes himself as the director of this episode and the visionary of where the camera is going to go?
I love it.
It's so apparent from jump that we are floating, we're spinning, we're going around and around, we're above and below and inside. It's just, it could be no one else.
In the era of DS9, when they would be like, hey, we still have some of those like fish versus dog loafs from TNG days. Let's throw some of those on some background characters on the promenade to make it look like a variety of weird aliens are here. It always fell so flat. And one thing that is so impressive about Disco is if somebody is on screen for a split second, they will put them in full original crazy alien loaf, like alien loaf that is more imaginative and more detailed than some aliens that are like classic Star Trek species. Like there's like a squid person that walks past the camera in this opening sequence that is like, that kicks the shit out of Cardassians, you know?
It sure feels like this is a show that does not use a binder clip ever to like cinch up whatever the piece that isn't seen by the camera, you know? Like it seems like everything is complete.
Yeah. Super good.
At least that's the effect.
Yeah. I realized on seeing Saru with a bouquet, there's nowhere for this series to end but Saru wedding, is there?
I mean, it could also be like death and destruction of the entire Federation. I mean, that's at least on the board, right?
It's on the board. So yeah, Star Trek Enterprise is about the beginning of the Federation. discoveries about the end of the Federation. And then they just kind of paint in between those for the rest of history.
What a great throwing of the sledgehammer through the window to end this thing. Like, oh yeah, we're going to need a few extra production days. We weren't sure if this is going to be the finale. We got some reshoots to do. They get back to Toronto, scrap everything. We are filling Federation HQ with the soaked rags of gasoline, sticking it in the ceiling, and then lighting a match on our way out.
So Trina catches him up on the Breen conflict, and Saru is really worried about the place he just came from because he's been in some systems along the border between Federation and Breen space.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think Saru got these flowers at the arrival airport or at the departure airport? Do you think he got them at Federation HQ, somewhere else, at the gift shop, and then blurped into Trina's quarters oh yeah, babe, I brought these all the way back for you from wherever it was that I was.
They believe this is good luck for your nuptials. And she's like, I'm never going to look into that.
She's like, why does the receipt say Federation HQ gift shop?
Hudson News? That also lasted 1,000 years?
Oh, yeah. That'll never die.
But they're like, we got much bigger fish to fry than some marginal at best Federation allies being worried about Breen marauders.
Yeah.
Because not only is Ruin's dreadnought now in possession of all of the clues, also Tahal, the other Breen Primarch that we've heard of, the one that messed with Raynor's planet, has heard about what's going on with the Scion and is now headed to Ruin's dreadnought to seize it and take control of his armies to shore up her claim on the Breen Empire.
Sometimes when I'll go to Vegas, I'll make a really, really, really long shot bet, something that's really cheap, but that pays off really big. When you mentioned that you thought the chances were good that the series would end with a Saru-Trina wedding, I also saw on the board, deep, deep down on the board, with the longest odds you could get, Raynor marries Tahal. What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, $10 pays 2,000 that happens.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun to bet a long shot.
Yeah, it doesn't cost that much money to put the money on it.
At that point, you're just betting for entertainment.
Yeah.
So Trina updates Saru on their way to a meeting with President Rillick, who happens to be in this episode. Welcome back, President Rillick.
She's there.
During this McLaughlin group,
Issue 1.
Everyone is read in on the current events. In case you have not watched any other episode this season, the Scion is dead, and it's drama across the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's like a race. Again, gotta race to the progenitor coordinates and be first. And if you're Disco, it's kind of a problem because your ship is busted.
Yeah, you've got 15 minutes before the Breen, using their transwarp tunnels, get to the coordinates that the key gave out at the end of the last episode.
What'd you make of this being the top line problem is get there first, get the tech. But so much dialogue is given to getting it before Tahal finds out.
Right.
Do we even really need to talk about that? I mean, if you have the progenitor tech, that is the star in the Mario Brothers game. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, I mean, this episode is really selling us huge Breen fleet the entire time, and
huge diplomatic stakes instead of existential ones.
Right. I guess they're setting that up for the next episode, but it did feel like more track laying, and also weirdly absent is Admiral, who buys books by the foot because he has a huge library but doesn't actually read that much. It seemed like you would want him involved in some of these conversations.
Cut over to Book sitting in a chair, like lounging, like, yeah. You can't afford me, mate.
Look, you need to accept that there's nothing for you to do right now.
This episode kind of foreshadows the idea of a great big Wolf 359 style incident at the coordinates of the Progenitor tech.
Yeah.
Big ol' fleet battle.
Big fleet battle.
Boy, was I excited to see this.
Yeah. Next episode, maybe.
Yeah.
Because they're also sending a bunch of ships, but their ships are limited to warp power.
Mm-hmm.
And so they, will get there when they get there. Disco will be underway soon. We learned from Michael Burnham. She lays off the news of Tahal's imminent arrival on Raynor, who receives that in a super emotional way.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned that the spore drive is not providing quite the precision that they've become accustomed to with jumps due to something about how the ship got fucked up when they did their junk shot at the end of the last episode. And Stamets feels that can be corrected for if he can have another hour and a half to work on it. But that is not the show we are on, Stamets.
Not gonna happen, Commander.
No, we need to jump right now. Do your best.
We get a very bumpy black alert with a hard landing. They come into the accretion disk of this black hole. I thought this was really neat. Like, I liked seeing just I feel like every time we see a black hole ever since Interstellar, it's like you see the whole damn black hole. And I liked seeing just an arc of it on the view screen. But because we've seen so many black holes in media now, we're clear on what we're looking at here.
I mean, at first, but then we get a little bit of a wider look and, oh man, it's two black holes.
Oh!
All the way across the view screen?
Whoa! Oh my god!
Double black hole! Oh my, it almost looks like a triple black hole!
Woo!
And they're primordial!
Oh, wow!
What are they going to do about this? They seem to be caught mostly in one of them until he's got the idea, like, you can use the gravitational pull of the other one to get yourself out of the first one and then get into the middle, that Lagrange point.
Coordinates are in the Lagrange point of the two black holes.
The perfect middle
between
them to be safe. And then you can escape.
Would you look at that?
They're cloaked, and one thing that they steadfastly refuse to do multiple times in this episode is drop cloak to get more power to engines.
Yeah.
But they managed to not get sucked into the black hole, and the shaking dies down, and it's a moment of relief because we beat the Breen to this spot, and they zoom the camera into the Lagrange point, and there's like a beer keg floating there, and they're like, great, we got the tech. It's right there. It's right between those two black holes, right where the thing said it would be.
I love this scene. It's just a bunch of talking about it. Like, oh, is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. What do the sensors say? Yeah, the sensors seem to indicate that that's it. And as they talk and talk and talk about this thing,
Thought it'd be bigger.
in come the Breen, they snag this thing and take it right into their cargo bay. And the look on Raynor's face. It's why you cast this guy.
Yeah.
This face.
Yeah.
Callum Keith Rennie does the damn thing in this moment.
It's so fun. Like, they very much cast like the person who rolls their eyes at Disco as the first officer for this season.
Yeah.
It was like, you had to express your feelings about the thing for so fucking long. The Dreadnought's got it, and Michael Burnham announces, we're getting this thing back. I mean, you never had it. You can't get it back.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the tone into the theme. And after the theme, we get a McLaughlin group.
Issue 2.
Where they kind of look at a visual representation of what just kind of looks like a big barrel. If you've ever been to a brewery or a place that makes wine. We're talking about a thing that size.
Yeah, and it's got a keyhole, and the thing that they've been building all season, the clue cylinder thing, is the key for that keyhole. And Michael Burnham reads her McLaughlin group in on a phrase that she got from a library book in the last episode. The phrase is, build the shape of the one between the many. That's change leader, right? That's the progenitor. That's got to be, right?
That's like an old-timey person describes titty fucking, right? That's like how an ancient philosopher would put it, like to like a teaching assistant.
Yeah. Back when the Kaiser was marauding across Europe, we called titty fucking the one between the many.
And it's my mission to conjure the shape between the many.
Language evolves over time.
I love that it's not just about having the key or the hole. It's not about having all the parts. It's about having this knowledge. This seems to give them some confidence that this game isn't over. The race isn't done with.
Yeah. They can't, like the Breen won't be able to do the CAPTCHA. They have the login and the password, but they're going to get confused when it comes time to click things that look like crosswalks or motorcycles or whatever.
Almost as incredible and as awe-inspiring as it was to spore jump to the accretion disk of a black hole, Adira talks during a meeting. Oh my God! They're saying something!
Yeah! They did it!
Oh, they're saying a second thing!
Oh! Oh!
Woo! Oh my God!
It's so beautiful.
So, good news is the Breen think that Disco is dead.
Disco is not dead. Disco is life.
And Adira's idea is to use this transport lock. It's like a gadget that you can... It sounds kind of like a pattern enhancer or something that you just slap on the side of something.
The devices that used to come in those dildos on tripods that you'd have to set up around a thing now just comes in patch form.
Yeah. So if they can sneak onto the Dreadnought, they can put one of those on, and the captain starts dividing everybody up into teams. Alpha team is going to go to the bridge and hack the Breen computer to drop the shields when they're ready to do this transport. And the other half is going to go to the Breen cargo bay and put the transporter lock on this keg. Ensign Tall is going to be on Alpha team along with Reese. And I guess Book and Burnham are going to be Beta team. Beta team?
Bravo
team. I'm thinking lower decks. I shouldn't be thinking in lower decks terms.
I always think in lower decks terms. Ben, this is one of the many scenes in this episode that seem to confuse how important it is to save the universe with the values of an overprotected parent, right? Because when Adira volunteers and is approved for this mission, the vibe is, oh, we can't let Adira do this. It's too dangerous. Isn't literally everyone going to die if this mission isn't successful?
Yeah, they saw what HQ looked like.
I don't understand why this show keeps suggesting that anything is more important. This is a show that routinely draws the fate of the universe into its conflict.
Yeah.
Why now, all of a sudden, is that not the main issue? Why are there other concerns here, like the safety of a child?
I guess
Adira's not a child, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, they're adult child.
Right.
When you are a Paul Stamets, when you are a Hugh Culber, and you have been in universe destruction level stakes over and over
tell
and
me
over again.
I wouldn't understand because I'm not a parent. How dare you?
That's not where I'm going at all. When the universe is going to get destroyed is the stakes of your job every week.
All right.
I guess it just fades into the background and you're like, I mean, that's an important priority, but I also have other priorities.
That's just a Tuesday.
You got paid big on this episode because you put a lot of money on people dressing up as Breens and sneaking around earlier in our coverage of this season.
Hey, let's make a bet. Is someone going to wear a Breen outfit that isn't a Breen before the end of the series?
Ooh,
as a disguise?
I like that pitch.
I want to see Book positively squeezed into one of those Breen outfits.
Yeah.
Look at me.
All I do is
Bets.
no matter what.
Cashing tickets. Feels good.
You know, as a non-gambler, it's fun to watch you win.
It's fun to be watched win. So on the Breen ship, the Breen are scanning this barrel, and Moll is the sort of job foreman of this thing. Boy, she got put in charge fast. And this poor random, they give the can koozie to, and they're like, hey, why don't you go put that in the keyhole and see what happens? And I love, like, what is the safe distance to you away from this thing when the random puts the key in the keyhole? I love how they're like maybe 10 feet away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just social distancing from the keg. They're not like, it's not like in Stargate where they're behind like 6 inches of plexiglass, and a blast shield when they turn the thing on.
So the key opens the door, and this guy's ordered to go inside into the glowing light within. And as soon as he kind of touches the glow, he does not so much go into it as he is sucked in.
Mm-hmm.
And the report after the fact is that he went through a kind of extra dimensional gateway. This is the term that they use.
I know what's on the other side of that gateway, Adam. Would you like to know what's in there?
Yeah, I don't want to be surprised. Hit me with it now.
End of Star Trek Discovery. The series finale is in there.
The credits are in there? Amazing.
The greatest trek
Is yet to come.
So that's a problem, right? Because they know he went extra dimensionally, but they don't know exactly where. And Moll guesses that, oh yeah, that's where you'd keep your progenitor tech.
Right.
You'd keep it on the other side of wherever that is. And so as this is happening, I think she can tell that this is going to take a while. And she looks over at Locke's body slowly decaying.
Starting to smell a little bit.
She's like, I'm going to stuff this guy into a portable pattern buffer, Scotty on that Dyson Sphere episode of Star Trek The Next Generation style, and just keep him on my sleeve.
Yeah.
That's a safe place, right?
It was a very like Indiana Jones music cue when she did this, I thought.
Yeah.
Kind of like we are interacting with the mystical leitmotif. But yeah, so she has a little wrist device that has her husband's body in it now.
Yeah.
And we cut back over to Disco where Adira is saying bye to their dads. A real tug at the heartstrings moment.
It's like they're walking Adira on their way to like Adira's first high school party that Adira's allowed to go to instead of the literal end of the universe at stake.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine like being such a supportive parent that you're just like validating your kids' choices no matter what they are, and you're letting them go to their first high school party in a Breen getup.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like validating, like, hey, just be your most authentic self, but also those kids are going to destroy this poor child.
Proud of you. Also nervous.
You don't understand, Dad and other dad. Everyone's wearing this Breen shit, and I want to be cool. It wasn't like this when you were growing up.
Well, I suppose we'll just have to take your word for it. It was a different time 800 years ago when we were growing up.
Look, I went to the department store and picked you up a Bran costume. That's the same, right? Look at this. And it's just not right as a Breen suit. Like,
yeah,
it's clearly not going to fit in at all.
Yeah. Boy, do you wind up having a really bad muffin top if you wear a brand costume.
That was great. I love that. Really good. I thought that Culber and Stamets were walking Adira to like a transporter room. Obviously, they're not. Where are they walking Adira?
I don't know. They don't need to go anywhere to get anything at this point.
You know what I wanted? I wanted a montage of these people on the Dustbuster Club trying to pull on a Breen suit.
That would have been great.
And like Culber and Stamets like grabbing opposite sides of like the legs and like trying to shake Adira through. Like hitting it with powder, like all the powder you got down those legs.
Like going to the mall and trying on different Breen suit montage. Yeah. Culber and Stamets sitting on that weird circular couch, like going like, no, that's not the one. Oh.
I love that scene.
I think they've got it.
Yeah. So on the bridge of the Discovery, Commander Raynor's been put in charge with Tilly as the XO. And Raynor's running things as more of a standing desk executive.
Yeah.
The kind of person who, in the Royal Tenenbaums parlance, has lunch standing up to save time and so forth.
He started buying real estate in his early teens and seemed to have an almost preternatural understanding of international finance.
He's creeping the whole crew out.
Making everybody nervous.
Yeah.
He won't sit in the chair, and he's just kind of like pacing back and forth, giving everybody orders. We learn as the shuttle departs for the Breen ship that this is a one-way trip. What they are planning on doing is parking the shuttle inside one of the rocket cones on the back of the Breen ship, basically. And the shuttle is going to get vaporized, but right before it does, they are going to beam out into their various sections of the ship.
Anytime an exhaust port is brought up in a science fiction context, you're just thinking Star Wars, right?
And may the Force be with you.
That's what's going on here. Right on down to the Breen suit being the anonymous suit of a ship full of people who look exactly the same, you know?
Absolutely. I think that the original Breen suit design was even based on the like Leia bounty hunter costume from Return of the Jedi. Like I think it was like an explicit reference in a way that Star Trek sometimes does. These are a little bit different, but yeah.
Did you understand this shuttle to not be cloaked as it transited over there?
The cloak effect that they chose for this episode didn't really make the ships invisible, and so I couldn't quite tell with the shuttle because it was so small on screen. And like, I don't think that the resolution is great on the screeners that we get. Like, it's not giving us like crystal clear 4K versions of this stuff. So I was interpreting it as cloaked, but I feel like I could totally be wrong. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why the Breen wouldn't be alerted to their presence if it wasn't, is the only thing I can think of.
We kind of get a giant set of dangly keys to distract us from these issues when they arrive at the spot where they need to beam in, and it's not easy to do.
The approach will not be easy.
The exhaust is too great. The bangers are too large. They can't beam right away until Adira finally gives the okay. And then they do.
They're beamed into a place where there are other Breens, and this was the thing that they were trying to avoid. But they kind of, like, the guards are very easily cowed because you just don't want to disgust your scion if you're a Breen, and if somebody's suggesting that you might be disgusting your scion, you got to just change it up immediately.
Nobody likes a disgusted scion.
You know, it would have been a great distraction is if you bring a random and then beam them over there through the floor, and then you arrive.
Oh man, what happened to this guy?
Suddenly, that's the focus of everything. These randoms arrive on the scene, they round the corner, and they're like, Oh God, what happened? And you're like in disguise. You're like, oh, I don't know what happened. I just got here too. It's crazy.
What? I can't find your fucking legs. I can't find your legs.
Someone's got to. Oh, I'm wearing a helmet too. Do I take this off or?
Can we just pick him up? Like, is there floor under him or is there more body down there? Oh,
Can I just take one of those razor blade scrapers you use on a warehouse floor to get gum up? Can I just like sluice the top part off and put it in a bag?
The point has been made very forcefully on this season that the Breens are nothing like us.
Mm-hmm.
We can't possibly imagine what motivates the Breens. And I feel like a lot of what this establishes in this episode is that the reason for that is that the Breen are extremely dumb.
I definitely got the Us magazine vibe of Breens. They're just like us. In so many of these scenes. This is one of them. It's just a bunch of posturing, just a bunch of folks being real short with each other.
Yeah.
You got to talk some Breen shit to get these Breen to step off. And that kind of gives them the ability to split up the teams and they go off on their separate ways.
Speaking of talking Breen shit, Brillick is trying to reach Tahal and not getting any answers to her phone calls.
How fucking embarrassing was this scene for Rillick? Like, she does this evidently several times and goes straight to the machine.
Yeah.
Like, this does not look any less embarrassing 800 years in the future.
No, it's just like that scene in Swingers. It's just like, it's just so cringe.
Don't ever call me again.
Wow.
Ben, if you got this message that we hear in this scene and you were on your way to get the most important object in the universe, would you stop and call back? I know I wouldn't.
But Tahal doesn't know about the most important object in the universe. Tahal's just going for an army.
Yeah, I guess so.
But to Tahal, that is the most important thing in the universe, you know?
That's Tahal's library, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Trina in this scene is so great. Trina's like, I've dated before, and I can tell you, maybe Tahal's just not that into you.
She is choosing to ignore us.
Damn it.
Mm-hmm. Your library is a backyard with trees that have all been neatly trimmed so that they're nowhere near the power lines.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to be showing up with a with a chainsaw anytime soon.
Yep.
We need to score a lot of Latin fast.
Licensed businessman.
Well, there's a new ship. She's got the right name. She's got the right name. Now, you remember that, you hear?
How about instead of answering machine, we send the USS Mitchell? And everyone in the room is like, no, we can't do that because it would be seen as a threat.
We can't risk escalating this further.
Hey, I've got a question. Is an entire fleet of Breen ships a threat?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, they don't want to antagonize the Breen, so they're going to send a shuttle with this pathway drive.
I wish this was the war pod. At least make it a war pod.
Yeah, war pod would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is confirmation or not, but I saw Jorg Hildebrand on social media referring to it as a warp pod.
Oh, I saw parentheses around the P to like make it work as both.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
Anything Jorg does is canonically true.
Probably, right? I mean, more authority to speak than any of us.
Yeah.
In the cheap seats.
So a shuttle's the decision.
Yeah.
Because it's not formidable, and at the same time, it would still slow down Tahal's fleet.
Like, assuming Tahal, like, stops to see what the shuttle wants and doesn't just blast through it.
In the same way that, like, an armadillo briefly slows a semi-truck that squishes it, like, yeah, that semi maybe slows 5 miles an hour before the cruise control gets hit again. Who's going to fly this thing? That's a question.
Saru raises his hand and everybody's like, oh, can you put the hand down? Can you, like, signal to us some other way, man?
It's understood that this would be kind of a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And this one goes a little differently than the scene where Adira volunteers for their shuttle mission, right? This seems to be like, there's a similarity here.
Yeah.
Shuttles and people you care about doing dangerous things.
We cut to, not Beta team, Bravo team.
Mm-hmm.
It's Book and Burnham, so that makes sense. Bravo.
I really feel like our shows are beta team. I like that you keep saying beta team. It feels like more in keeping with how we do things.
Yeah.
And what we represent.
Listen, you may be on B Squad, but you're the B Squad leader.
They bump into a guy in the hallway and he's talking Breen to them, and their translator doesn't get everything that he says. So it's a little bit awkward, but it is revealed that this guy is inviting them to like a Christmas party, like Breen Christmas is coming up, and they just got invited to celebrate with him.
This is one of the several scenes you experience getting to understand Breen culture, and you're like, oh yeah, like when you're a Breen, every invitation seems hostile.
I would like to share cookies with my family and you.
Do you want to ride bikes after school? We could go to the comic shop.
I hear this new movie, Zoolander, is very funny. I have an extra ticket. Would you like to join me?
So they just narrowly get past this type of check, Book and Michael Burnham, and Michael Burnham finally is like, I can't take this anymore. She pulls Book behind a corner. She finally tells him about Library Book and how she felt responsible for the end of their relationship. And she is so sorry for that. And he's sorry too.
Yeah. I mean, like, they kind of hang a lantern on it being insane timing to have this conversation. But what I did like about it was the, like, Iron Man ECU on each of their faces for the purposes of this conversation, because it's like, it's kind of like Discovery finally getting to, like, fully commit to what it does as a show. Like, just the intimacy of this kind of framing is like there's no shot more intimate, really. So
there are 3 people in Hollywood that look beautiful when shot this way: Robert Downey Jr., Sonequa Martin Green, and David Ayala, right? Like, somehow Sonequa Martin Green looks beautiful in these moments. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's astounding.
It's a sweet conversation. They kind of both apologize to each other for, you know, their like less than charitable interpretation of each other's actions. And maybe if they'd just communicated, Book wouldn't have committed war crimes, you know?
Yeah. But you can't unring the war crime bell, can you?
Oh.
That war crime can't go back in the toothpaste tube, can it, Ben?
Mm-hmm. Once you make a war crime omelet, you can't get back to having a no war crime egg.
It's true.
Some great bumper stickers for potshop.biz.
So this heart-to-heart gets interrupted by a shift change, and that kind of shakes them back into getting back on mission.
Yeah.
And on the Breen Bridge with Moll, one of the henches recommends that they send someone through, this time having the right equipment. I love that the hench that recommends this is not the one that ends up going through.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. You want to be the one that recommends this plan, because I think that ensures you from having to be the one to do it.
Choose your most trusted soldier.
And this conversation happens at the same time as Alpha Team arrives. And Reese and Adira tell some Breen lower decker to leave their station, and that allows Adira to begin work on the shield part of the mission. If you remember, their part of the mission is to get those shields down.
Yeah, so it's going to take some leet hacking skills.
Isn't this a problem with an open concept bridge? Like, it's so big.
Right.
There are so many people who work here. You can just kind of intermingle.
Yeah, and you like try to kind of signal like I'm attempting to focus by putting some headphones in or something, and people just ignore it and come up and start talking to you, and you're like, what are you doing?
You know, I kind of want to retract that observation, because like it's not like anyone knows who anyone is on the Discovery Bridge either. So maybe that's not a thing.
Word gets to Rayner that everything is going more or less to plan on the Breen ship. And so he needs to get everyone ready to doorbell ditch over on Discovery. And it's just a ton of nervous energy as he paces around and Tilly kind of, gets him to lean in a little bit. And she's like, hey, man, like, you gotta calm down. Like, it's really freaking everyone out. And I loved this moment for Raynor because he's like, stop trying to warm and fuzzy me. That's not the kind of character I am. Like, I got you in here as my first officer because I think you're smart and good and capable. I don't want to be discovered.
Tilly's gonna Tilly, but Raynor's gonna Raynor. And I'm glad that he is not coerced into sitting.
I loved Mary Wiseman's take at the end of this scene.
I did too.
Just a hilarious, wordless react to Raynor just like blowing up in her face when she tries to Star Trek Discovery at him.
I mean, if there's one crew person that's taken the brunt of Raynor's shit the most, it's probably Tilly, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So back on the Breen ship, Bravo team makes their way to the shuttle bay where they keep the progenitor barrel. And when Burnham and Book can't enter the secured area, we get a real Three Stooges argument out front as a distraction. And even a Three Stooges argument in Breen sounds incredibly threatening. It does not sound silly at all when there's like Breen throat stuff going on.
Yeah.
But this is all just a distraction to start a fight with these guards, and they easily overpower them.
I mean, they do turn around very quickly with that 2x4 over their shoulder, so.
Yeah. I love how they use one of those guys' faces to get into the secure area.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, well, they couldn't use the other one because they did the 2 fingers into his Breen mask, and he didn't put the hand up to stop them.
Yeah, the shark fin hand up in front.
They watch as this Breen with the proper equipment gets ready to essentially bungee jump through the keg door.
I love that proper equipment just looks like a rope tied around his waist. I called this guy Leica Breen because that just seems like that will be their fate.
Yeah, I was delighted at how little it took to snap this bungee.
Yeah, I mean, he's sucked in a lot like the last guy. It's not so much a hopping through a portal.
Yeah.
It's as soon as you touch this thing, you're going in.
Burnham and Book walk up. Book is kind of charmed by the fact that Breen Christmas is in the air. So he does a little bit of Yuletide flirting with one of the other Breens.
Sure. Why not?
Burnham gets a little bit threatened about this, but then news of the guys that they killed outside the shuttle bay door reaches the bridge and a security alarm goes off. Shit looks like it's going left on the Breen ship. And that's when we cut back to Federation HQ.
We can't have too much intensity at one time. We have to replace that intensity with sexual intensity. The kind you can only get between Saru and Trina. Saru is visited by her ahead of this mission that he's volunteered for. And I love how they kind of argue the same side of him not being the right person for the job, but just in their own way.
Yeah, and also are both on the side of like, definitely don't put our relationship ahead of like saving the galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how like she actually doesn't trust that he won't do his best on the mission if it means risking his life.
Yeah. It's really sweet. And then he puts his dog dick fingers on her head, and I did not like that part.
I didn't either.
I didn't like when she touched his chin either. That like seeing the loaf like flex inward when somebody touches it is just like, I don't like it.
I can only say this as someone who has seen all of these episodes several times, and I'm definitely not an expert, but does it seem like Saru's prosthetic is different this year?
It feels a little different around the neck to me. Like it's like, I don't know if they're trying to age it or if it's like thinner or something, but it looks...
Yeah, something about it seems different.
Yeah, it looks kind of grosser around the neck to me.
Yeah. Anyway, try to come back alive, or whatever is the tone that scene ends on. And on the Breen ship, Burnham tells Raynor that they're out of ideas. Do you have one, Commander Raynor?
It's risky, but...
Whatever it is, I trust you. Just do it.
Okay, then.
Sure, I'll just hail the Dreadnought from Discovery, because you got to remember, up until this moment, Discovery's been cloaked, and this Breen ship had no idea they were out there.
Yeah.
And so Moll orders the ship weapons hot as soon as Discovery is discovered, and then she opens communications.
Yeah, and this is just buying a little bit of time to keep Moll away from the shuttle bay. Rayner lies to Moll. He says Burnham is dead. He's in charge of Discovery now, and warns her about Tahal being on her way. This is all just to give Michael Burnham and Book a chance to get this transport lock attached to the keg. But no sooner do they have it attached than Moll shows right up, because, you can transport instantly wherever, it's not like she needs to go get on an elevator to go down to the shuttle bay.
What do you think of this deal that Rayner tries to make with Moll? The whole, why don't you give us the key and the barrel, and the Federation promises to protect you against a Breen armada that we're terrified of.
Yeah.
What was that?
I know he's just buying time, but your mouth is writing checks that your Starfleet can't cash.
Moll rightfully throws this back in Rayner's face.
I don't need you or your Federation.
No deal.
And she rips the transport lock off the keg the second Michael Burnham and Book have it there, and has them remove their helmets. And I noticed something about the way the helmet comes off that kind of broke my brain a little bit, because Michael Burnham has very long braids in this season.
Mm-hmm.
And when her helmet is on, you don't see the braids coming down her back. But when the helmet dematerializes around her head, her braids are just there.
Ah. You don't think Michael Burnham is rocking a top knot?
No, her braids are down her back. When in this scene, they try to hide it in shadow a little bit, but there's kind of a braid continuity issue.
Yeah,
with the way the helmet works.
Yeah, that's tough to pull off.
Yeah,
not every Star Trek podcast is going to notice something like that.
No, but this is a Star Trek haircast first and foremost.
It's true.
It's in our DNA. So Rayner has an idea that he's not going to reveal just yet for dramatic tension, but he's getting ready to do something crazy. And Moll starts ranting at Book and Burnham. She's going to throw them in the Breen brig. And we realize that what the Discovery is going to do is it's going to take a flanking speed run at the shuttle bay of the Breen ship.
Burnham mentions the word ASCAD, which I thought was just a thing that improv groups do as a performance. But this is something that Rayner understands as a course of action. And that's what this is.
Oh, I thought ASCAD was what designers use to make digital porno.
Yeah. So using only one word, Rayner understands that the plan should be Discovery will ram the ship at the same time as the shields drop and the gravity goes away in this cargo bay. And while everything's floating around, your people and your barrel and your key are going to be beamed on board Discovery, and then you'll get to fly away. That's the plan.
Yeah. I was wondering, does Discovery need to be able to turn its full 360 to jump out of there? Could it jump from within the cargo bay, or is the cargo bay too tight of quarters? Looks
pretty tight.
Yeah, it really does.
You got to do a 3-point Y turn to spore jump out of there.
It just doesn't look as cool,
So I like how little time there is between the plan being understood and the plan being implemented, because we watch this happen right away. We get a fight scene with Reese fighting some guards, and then the thing about this fight scene that I love is that it is the slowest, clobberiest fight scene we've seen on Discovery for a while. We're so used to seasoned martial arts happening that when you get a non-main character doing beat-em-ups here, it feels real.
Yeah.
It feels like these punches and kicks hit.
I think that the fight choreography and non-choreographed feeling fight stuff has just been great all season long.
Yeah, I like this for Reese too.
Yeah. He got a great moment in this episode.
He and Adira are beamed away, and with Disco headed for the shuttle bay, Moll is like, the artifact kind of seems like a great escape plan. She's like watching the ship get closer. She looks at the door and she's like, I don't know if I can make that distance at a full sprint. So Michael Burnham can't let her explore something that she hasn't also explored first.
Yeah.
So when Moll hops into the glowing white light, Michael Burnham goes too.
Yeah.
And then Disco penetrates the Breen shuttle bay. The effect is spectacular.
Yeah.
I love how everything goes weightless and the artifact floats out into space between the two black holes, and then it pops open. What did you think happened here?
It's like the dimensional portal is now a space butthole and not contained within the keg. But yeah, it was your Michael Burnham is Spider-Man theory from episode 1 of this season really felt strongly supported by Michael Burnham's actions in this scene.
Look out! Here comes the Spider-Man!
She went into the portal.
What?
But Raynor is resolved that we are going to get them back. And Raynor sits down.
I cannot believe we actually said failure is not an option. Can we not ever say that again? I wonder if there's a version that they toyed with that didn't have that line of dialogue. I don't know, because Raynor's got such a face and he's got such an ability to convey a feeling that, like, I get it. I want him to sit down in that chair wordlessly almost.
Right.
So into that problem Discovery goes, and into the credits we go toward the series finale, Ben. Did you like this episode?
She'll always bring it home.
I liked this episode. I think that the like audacity of a going behind enemy lines episode is always a fun ride. You know, like you don't feel safe going all the way through this. And I think that like maybe one area where it clanks is like none of the characters from the Disco side seem that worried, maybe with the exception of Adira. So like they don't seem to think that this is terribly unsafe.
Do you think that's I don't want to say mistake, but do you think that that is the result of 4 previous seasons where everything in the universe was on the line at all times, that maybe we're just fucking tired? Like we're just wiped out as a crew and like we can't feel it in the same way anymore?
Yeah, it's sort of like, I didn't watch much past like season 2 of 24, but I felt like that kind of happened with that series. Like Jack Bauer has like, you know, stopped a nuke from going off in a sporting event and saved the president from assassination, and then like saved the next president from another assassination so many times. And it's like,
Raynor does brood like Jack Bauer. Raynor does say damn it the way Jack Bauer did in a fun way.
Damn it. Shit.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. Like, I'm sad that Disco is ending, but maybe this is where it has to end to like leave us wanting more. Like maybe one more season of this would be like too much weight for a show to bear.
Yeah. Much like that Leica Breen that went through the gateway first. Discovery had to be first.
Yeah. How about you?
The reason this episode is distinct from the others is Jonathan Frakes' direction. It just feels incredibly dynamic the entire time.
Yeah.
And recognizably so in a way that just really satisfies. The thing about this episode that really resonated with me the most is like, I think we still get little beats for Tilly to establish herself as the great teacher that she will become in the series of her own. And if how that story is constructed is anything like this one, I just can't help but think about the moments in my life where a good teacher has affected me and my ability to learn something, and how that is not what I'm seeing here. You know, like the difference between being a good teacher on a television show versus a good teacher in real life. Like, can you depict that in a TV or a movie? I think you can. Like, there are good examples of that.
Yeah.
And I like Tilly a lot as a character, and I believe Tilly is capable of being a great teacher, but the examples used in Star Trek Discovery to show her being a good teacher are her basically telling a student, you should talk more in class, and you did a good job just then. And like that's not it. That's not inspiration.
Yeah.
To learn or be interested or be better as a student in any practice. And I'm really wondering, when you construct a series around the idea of education and teaching young people and inspiring them to do great things, I hope that's what that other series is. And I hope it feels like a realistic portrayal of how that goes and how difficult it is to do those things. Because the teachers in my life right now, the things that I hear about that they struggle with and also celebrate, like, what a crazy difficult life that is.
Yeah.
And the stories I hear are nothing like what I'm seeing in the interactions between Tilly and her students or Tilly and Adira.
Yeah. I think the Starfleet Academy show is going to be more of like a kind of a holdovers vibe.
Oh, I hope so. What's up with Tilly's weird eye? Wasn't it the other eye in the last scene?
That poor wall-eyed bastard.
They could go a lot of different directions. You think that it's going to be a bunch of these students, but then they all go on like a ski trip, like real early on. And you're like, oh, like, I guess that's not what this is going to be about.
No, not at all. I'm excited for the series finale. We have some ideas of where it could go, but I think when your main characters disappear into a white light, they could be anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's see what happens when we disappear into this white light of the Priority 1 inbox.
Your description is apt, Ben. This spreadsheet, bright white table.
Oh, no.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
That's where our first Priority 1 message lives. It is a personal message. It is from Ryan from Sacktown. It is to you and me. And that message goes like this. You mentioned that you were looking for some ideas for the off-season. Since this is a new Star Trek podcast, how about pilots for current new sci-fi shows, such as Andor, Severance, The Mandalorian, Doctor Who, Resident Alien, Fallout, etc. Thanks for all the great pod. Question, what drink would summarize the disco experience for you? Great question.
That was a great question. I like that pitch, Ryan from Sacktown.
That's something to think about during the off-season.
Yeah, I have been watching Resident Alien. It's one of the few science fiction programs I've ever persuaded my wife to watch with me, and we both really enjoy it. And it's executive produced by B-Dunks.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And B-Dunks has directed a lot of episodes, right?
Yeah.
Whatever answer we come up with here, we should drink for the finale.
That sounds nice. So it should be something I want to drink, you're saying.
Come on. Come on.
I'm just joshing. What drink would summarize the disco experience?
The funny answer is Bud Light.
Well, here's what I was going to say. I don't see these as much anymore. There used to be a grocery store that I lived near in Williamsburg called Tops on the Waterfront. And it was like an independent grocery store that had it was such a random selection of products. Like some of the stuff was really great. Some of the stuff was like, why do you carry this? This is an insane thing to carry. But one thing I really liked in their beer section, they would always have like one or two German beers that came in a can that was like, I don't know, like 32 ounces or something, some like totally insane size of can of beer. Like, you remember like the Foster's cans? Like that, but like even bigger. And I feel like that both in the shape of this keg, the final clue, but also just like oh man, we're getting new Star Trek. We're getting a really big beer.
I think I just thought of it with your description, Ben.
Okay.
It's root beer.
It's so bubbly and cloying and happy.
For all the obvious reasons, but it's shaken up as hard as you can shake it. Which means that when you open this thing, you could destroy the entire galaxy. That is how carbonated it is.
Wow.
and look, like you'll finish one and be like, there's no way the next bottle is going to be that dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It is.
It's even more dangerous than the first one somehow. And then again, you're like, all right, 2 bottles down. There's no way this third one is going to put literally the entire universe at stake. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it fucking is. Yeah.
It's blowing big and on and on. So 5 bottles of very shaken up root beer.
Wow.
I think is going to be my answer. And I'm going to try to get 5 bottles to drink during the finale of Discovery.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Just a totally unnecessary root beer power hour on my part.
Enjoy it. If you'd like to get a P1 on the show, head to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and book yours today.
Hey, Ben.
What's that, Adam?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Leica Breen.
Yeah, Leica Breen. I like Leica Breen.
Yeah.
That guy's got nothing going on. Hey, no one invited him to the holiday party.
Yeah.
That's why he's going in.
RSVP, that guy.
You know, maybe if my date could tie a rope around me and hold the other side, that'd be... Oh, wait, no one's holding on to it. And in he goes. I would love it if Leica Breen, or even better, the very first Breen, is like king on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
On the other side of this dimensional portal, that guy is king.
Leica Breen hit lotto over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it feels like we've hit the lotto when I think about the friends of DeSoto out there who appreciate and enjoy our program. And this next segment is all about them. It's our Warning Boy segment, Ben. It's where we read a message that an FOD has written about us on a social media page that kind of sets the tone for someone out there who hasn't heard our programming before. Attracting someone who would get us, repelling someone who might not.
Mm-hmm. Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
This one is an appreciative message for the production that goes into our show. Little details like this, I think, are one of the things I love about our show, what FODs love about the show, and I think what makes Wynde such a great producer. This message is from Blue Sky. If you're wondering whether somebody out there noticed and appreciated the conference room reverb on LeVar's bullshit clip in this week's episode, the answer is yes, and yes. There are so many little details that go into how we use those little clips we deploy in the episode. A lot of times it's not just the clip. It's a nice touch to put it in the place where it lives. And for my money, Wynde's the best in the business, so good job by her.
Lucky to have the entire team here at Uxbridge Shimoda backing us up, Wynde most of all, and we are going to let Wynde take it from here.
See you next week for the series finale.
Wow.
Don't go into the light, Ben.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Next Friday, Ben and Adam will be back to cover the series finale of Star Trek Discovery. It's Season 5, Episode 10, called Life Itself. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the Greatest Trek YouTube channel. Another free way to support the show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. But the most direct way to make sure Greatest Trek keeps going is to support as a monthly member. Members get access to new bonus episodes, and we appreciate and rely on the support at MaximumFun.org/join. Nick Ditmore created the show art, and Adam Ragusia composed the theme music that you hear on each episode. Thanks also to Bill Tilley and Rob Adler for making all of the social media pages a ton of fun. Make sure you're following @GreatestTrek on your platform of choice and use the hashtag #GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.